Hello, my name is Mark Starr. This is a comprehensive overview of Caprecia. Some things that were mentioned in the quick overview will be gone over again here, and some things will not. Caprecia is a newly terraformed planet, and you as a player are in charge of a group of scientists who are all studying the planet to make it ready for life. The groundwork for power has already been set in on a grid. However, there's not enough power to power the entire grid. So random chance has been determined the most fair way to power different buildings that will be built. So in Caprecia, you will gain resources by the dice roll. You will then use these resources to buy buildings or expand into built buildings. And by building or expanding into these buildings, you will gain scientists in different fields, and these scientists will then conduct research, which will give you prestige in technology and science. These points, for short, are what will help you win the game. There are also additional points which will be awarded for how you build on the board. All players have a player board, which is used to track their goods, scientists, and other passive abilities they may gain as the game plays on. In addition, players place cubes on top of their hometowns, which players upgrade as the games go on. So as I am building and expanding, I will take these cubes off and place them on the board. And once those cubes have been used, I now have to spend this much resources, and then I can place this town on top of my village, which was my previous hometown. I now receive 2 goods instead of 1. And this is the same with the others with increasing goods. At the start of the game, each player places their village and a small greenhouse, ferritorio, and polymerizer. These are all of the primary goods you'll use during the game. For each player, they have a small quadrant that only at the start will they place their starting building tiles. One set of tiles is the common tiles, which these will remain almost entirely the same in every game. These consist of a single resource, a choice resource, and then upgrades that players will use to move gameplay along. In addition, the duplicate goods, instead of receiving 1 medal, you would receive 2. These can also be swapped out on a separate game with receiving 2 separate goods. In addition to the resource tile and the common goods, there's an emissary that allows additional expands on a player's turn, engineering facility that allows additional builds, a trader station that allows people to trade, and automaton rental that allows your production buildings to produce additional goods when rolled. At the start of the game, each player has the option to either build or expand on their turn. They can increase their options by building or expanding into an emissary house or engineering facility. Once they do this, they will place a cube showing and reminding them that they now have bonus builds or bonus expands they can use on their turn. In addition to the common tiles, which we use every game, there are standard tiles, and these have more varying abilities, such as this one, which activates the building next to it when rolled, or the gambling market, which when rolled you can pay 3 goods and then roll a die and you get that many goods. The poorhouse, which if you don't get any goods on the roll, you then get 3 goods, which can be increased as you expand or build into more poorhouses. The quantum physicist lab, which allows you to re-roll a die if you choose when you would roll a die. And the Mason Hall, which makes all buildings 1 less around this building. And this can also be increased by expanding into this building. When building a building, you pay the cost of everything on the tile. When expanding, you have the option of paying the cost of what's in one of the squares. Once one player has expanded, so let's say white has built here, and yellow has expanded once, the next player of the build now also needs to play a plant to the other players already in the building tile. So if blue wanted to join in on the gambling market, it would pay 2 metal to white and 1 plant to yellow. The next player would have to pay 2 polymers to white and then a plant to each player. If this was a player that had already placed, such as if yellow would choose to play here, they would still play the 2 polymers and 2 plants, but only 1 plant would go to blue, the other plant would go to the bank. The building tiles all have different colored borders. These borders indicate what they do. So as you're looking across the board, scanning which row is being activated, you can quickly identify whether it matters or not. A green border indicates you will get a good of some sort. A orange border means you'll get a special ability from a roll. A white border means it's a passive ability. A purple border means it has a passive ability and a roll ability. And some also have combinations, and these will nearly always have some sorts of good, and it will be obtained by a special ability. There are 3 different areas of science in which the players will be researching. There's chemistry, biology, engineering, and there is also a star emblem. This can be any field. When a players build a building, they receive 2 scientists per each emblem on the tile. So for this example, a player would receive 2 chemists for building this building. And here, 4 biologists, 2 engineers, and here with the star, they would get 4 scientists, and they can mix in any field. When a player expands into a building, they only receive 1 scientist per emblem. So for here, they would receive 1 chemist, 2 biologists, and so on. Using player scientists, they will conduct research in different areas using the scientists they have discovered. There are A, B, and C levels of research, and A takes 15 scientists, B usually takes 25, and C usually takes 35. As well as the points increase 3, 5, and 7. During gameplay, there will only ever be 2 of each levels of research showing. There will be 6 total levels of research, and once one has been claimed, a new one is revealed. In addition, the bonus points, there is only 2 of each of these, and once those are claimed, they are done. Some examples of the bonus tiles in which there is D and E. The Ds usually are being the first to complete something, such as build and expand into 1 building with 3 expand slots, all on your own, or be the first to have your building surrounded on all sides by other players' buildings. The E cards are ones that will be played out and scored at the end of the game. Some examples of these are build the most non-green colored buildings and be the player that is expanded into the most buildings. The end of the game can be triggered in multiple ways. One way is to have one player done research in 3 different fields. These could be in any row. Another is to have any one of these rows be completely gone. And a third way is to have used all of your cubes. In addition to the ways mentioned for a 3 and 4 player game, in a 2-player game, the game also ends when all 36 squares have been filled.